So the walls are painted. The biggest part of the job is done. And all I have to do is the trim. Piece of cake. My exact thoughts, because it was only going to take one coat of paint, white, off-white on white. And then I started taping. Take a close look at what I'm doing and start laughing. And every time I look at the trim in this room, I just shake my head and chuckle. Something has amused me. Can you guess what? Hi, welcome to my homestead, New Brunswick. Welcome to my funny room. My name is Elizabeth. Glad you could drop by. Yeah, on the surface, there doesn't appear to be that much funny about this room, but honestly, it had me laughing this week, or I was just going to give up. I started taping this window and doing the caulking around the bottom that's against the paneling. I have a clear silicone caulking, and as I was doing that, it struck me. This was not going to be a small job. Let me lay it out for you. 4 cupboards here, plus the outside at the bottom, which doesn't have cupboard doors, and I'm gonna have to move that shelf. Not just the door trim, but the door jambs and the doors. Thankfully, there's not a lot of baseboard in this section of the room. Over here, I'm gonna have to move all of this. There's going to be a lot of baseboard back behind there, and I need to reach the window and around the air conditioning unit. The cabinet doors will have to be removed, these ones and the ones on the other side. This cabinet here, I've only done the inside, so there's the 2 outside doors, floor to ceiling, and along the side there, this window, and the doorway into the kitchen, which is a fair amount because it was at one time an exterior door, plus the baseboard down below the window. So what I thought was going to be, oh, you know, I've just got a couple little bits left over. No, actually I don't. When I was washing it, especially on the doors here, there's a lot of nicks, and it's all gonna have to be sanded before I do it. There were nails sticking out along here somewhere, I think on this one, and I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if we can see the nicks in the door jamb here. There's a huge section up there where the paint is dripping so badly it's going to have to be sanded. So I really don't know what I was thinking when I thought, oh, you know, I'll get the walls painted and I'm almost done. No, I'm not almost done, because on top of all of that, there's a lot more taping that has to be done. The floors have to be taped. Wish me luck. This is going to be one massive job. So as I said, there was caulking to do. I had used a white caulking around all of the windows and all of the trim against the walls. But for the paneling, I had to use a clear silicone, and yuck, that stuff is awful. You have to use it really, really sparingly. It goes everywhere. It doesn't clean up as nicely as the white caulking does. And just getting it on my hands, it just doesn't come off. It doesn't come off the surface if you've got too much. It doesn't come off your hands. It was not a pleasant thing to use, but it was necessary. You know, there's gaps all over the room. So it looks better, but there was a fair amount to do. For the taping, up until now I've been using painter's tape from our local Dollarama, and that was fine. But this time around I wasn't anywhere near Dollarama, and I knew I needed tape, so I just got some. It's either Home Hardware or Kent. I can't remember exactly which store, but anyway, it took the surface finish right off the paneling. Holy cow. Thankfully, I had a little bit of the wide tape left, but I had 2 rolls of the 1-inch tape, and so I just did double row of that all around on the paneling, because the paneling is already a mess. I don't need to make it any worse. Before, when I was taping, I was just taping around the windows where they were against the wall, but now, because I'm doing the trim, I had to tape all the way around all of the windows, and so I had to make sure that I was using the right tape on the paneling. At this point, I'm really wishing I had just taken the paneling off. but I'm stuck with it for now. I just have to do the best I can, and making sure that I don't take the finish off is really helping. But I had to tape like along the floor and above the baseboards, which when I was doing my calculations as to how long this was going to take, I just never even thought of that. The taping took quite a while to do. Really, what was I thinking? Boy, were the office and pantry doors ever beat up. It took a lot to make them look good. And in fact, I did fill a lot of holes. I used wood filler the first time, big mistake, because it was necessitating a second coat of paint. When I painted them, I was like, wow, this needs a whole lot more. And a lot of sanding. Doors, they just take a beating, right? And especially the door jambs. All of the door jambs had to be sanded, especially from about 3 feet up all the way down. They were just beat down in some places. So between the first and the second coat of paint, I used some spackle and filled in even more holes on both doors, especially the pantry door. That was a mess, but in the end, it was really, really worth it. I'm glad I did it. The window into the kitchen was once a window on an external wall, so it was really deep. And it hasn't been maintained since the addition's been put on, and the glass is really loose. And I was going to just run some silicone caulking around it, and I decided that I dislike that stuff so much that instead I'm going to just get a small piece of trim and trim all the way around the windows to hold the glass in. I think it'll look nicer. But it came up really nice, and I actually very, very much like that corner of the room. And I think once the built-in cabinet is finished and dressed, I think that corner is going to look really nice, which I had envisioned, and it's kind of nice to know that my vision was right. It's coming together. The kitchen door, the door into the kitchen, that too was once external. It was at one time exposed to the elements, so there was some separation of the wood and whatnot, and I just did some caulking on it, and it looks a lot better. But there was a lot of caulking all the way around it because there were different layers of trim in there. It wasn't as beat up as the office and pantry doorways, but still it needed a fair amount of sanding and some filling. But boy, it's going to look a whole lot better than it did. The corner built-in cabinet where I put the shelf was pretty straightforward. The biggest problem is just making sure that I don't paint the doors shut because they are just on runners. But it was a pretty straightforward job. The caulking had already been done around most of the cabinet. So all I had to do was taping, and thankfully that was pretty straightforward as well. I left one piece unfinished. I'm going to get a corner. I think I have to get corner trim for all the corners in the room. So I didn't paint down one side until I put the new trim on. But that will probably be in another couple weeks. Once I get the, actually it'll probably be in another month when I have to go down to the city, and I'll hit the hardware store and get the trim that I need to finish off all the corners. The window into the kitchen took one coat of paint, and it looks a bit better. It needs some work still, but not paint-wise, so I'm glad that that's done. The door into the kitchen, that, wow, that turned out really, really well. I didn't realize that it was such a mess, but it is. The only thing I have to do now is around the door handle and some of the inner door jamb parts. But I'm probably going to replace the door handle, so the doorknob, so I'm not too terribly worried about the state of the paint around that. The doors to the office and the pantry will absolutely have to have a second coat on the doors themselves because of the amount of hole filling that I did. You can still see where the patching was done on the doors. And to be honest, I could have done a whole lot more. I think I would have done well to just take these doors off and replace them because they were incredibly beat up. This door, which wasn't quite as bad, I can really notice the difference as to how much better it looks. So I've just got the final coat to do on these two doors and some baseboards, and then I'm done for this week. So I stand here and yeah, it looks pretty amazing. I'm so pleased. I am 1 week away from having the basic painting done. There's a lot of things that I'm planning on doing in here. You know, I painted the shelf and I put things back on it, but there's a couple other things that I want to do. There's things I want to hang on the wall. I have curtains that I'm in the process of making, so I need the curtain rods up. I want to replace the doorknob. So there's a lot of things that still have to be done. But I can start to put things back and not have to worry that they're going to get covered in paint, and that's going to be quite the relief. For now, that's it for this. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. It gave me quite an amusingly early. If you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and I would love it if you would subscribe and join our community. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.
I was needing to print off some things from this same lady that I was talking to, so I was just making arrangements to go in and pick stuff up tomorrow or Monday.
And I'm missing an ingredient. I kind of want to get it done.
Did I tell you about the they just absolutely love sweet stuff. I'm not as